Welcome back, everybody, sisters, to the Coming Home to You Sparkcast, the sanctuary for soul-led women, healers, mamas, visionaries, and leaders just like you who are ready to rise fully in their light. Here, we remember what it means to come home to ourselves, beyond the roles, the noise, and the expectations, because truthfully, coming home to you is not a destination. It's a devotion. And this is the space where progress matters more than perfection. And every episode is an invitation, a step on that journey, and a breath of remembrance, a chance for you to reconnect with your true self and embrace the unique path which is folding on in front of you. And so now, before we begin, let's start as we always do with our sacred breath. So take a moment to just soften your shoulders, drop them, arrive in this moment, be fully present. Now put your hand in your heart center and the other in the womb. Inhale deeply, allowing light to fill your body in this moment. And as you exhale slowly, release anything no longer serving you. Let it go with a sigh. Again, breathing in together as one, feeling our hearts really connect across space and time. Releasing, exhaling slowly with a sigh. And as breathing out, anchoring into love, into the truth and remembrance. And now, in this space, I want you to set your intention. How do you wish to be received, be held in this space, to show up? And with one breath and one heart, we may now begin. Mm. Sometimes I really feel that energy moving through. So now let's welcome into the circle. I am honored to welcome Cathy Brooks today. She's an executive advisor, a leadership strategist, and a transformational communicator. With over 2 decades of experience, Cathy has truly helped entrepreneurs and executives navigate growth, conflict, and cultural complexity. From her early years, bridging the gap between Silicon Valley's innovators and everyday people, to creating one-of-a-kind leadership approach inspired by the dog-human relationship. Cathy has built a reputation for helping leaders really connect with empathy, build trust, and turn vision into results. So help me welcome Cathy to the show today. Hi.
Hi, Margarita. Thanks so much for having me here.
So honored to have you. I was just mentioning to you earlier how I really love your no BS approach to communication. And you were, as my mentor, really shined a light on through that communication, like where I was stopping myself. So I am grateful to have you here, and I'm excited to know that this is going to be truly an authentic, bold, free, raw conversation. So I'm honored.
Buckle up,
And
Buttercup. Here we go.
yes. So grab your cafecito, everybody. Turn off your distractions. This is definitely a conversation you do not want to miss. You want to pay full attention, take notes, okay? All right, Cathy, your career began in Silicon Valley at such a transformative time for technology and communications. Can you share how that experience really shaped your passion for being a translator and how those roots still influence the way that you guide leaders today?
Well, first, Margarita, thank you so much for having me today, and for the thoughtful question and the conversation that we get to have. And hello, everybody. Good to virtually see you all. I don't. It was not a conscious thing. I joke that all of the most magnificent transitions in my life came with me stubbing a toe and then going ass over tea kettle into a new opportunity. And and really resilience and adaptability have been the bellwethers of my entire life. And we'll talk about that a little bit more a little later. What I found when I got to Silicon Valley, I didn't start out going to the San Francisco Bay Area to work in Silicon Valley. I went to work at a newspaper in Palo Alto, California. From there, I went to a job at Metro Traffic Control. I worked in radio, doing traffic and weather together every 10 minutes. So I did that for a while. And when those roles ended and I was looking at what's next, I ended up finding a job in public relations at the suggestion of a guy at the gym who worked at a PR agency, who basically said, you know, the media, you know, communications, you know, language, you can be a bridge. Journalists, public relations is about being the bridge between information and the people who disseminate that information to the world. And this is, in the Stone Ages, right? So this is in the early 90s. And so, which, I mean, it was 35 years ago, which in Silicon Valley speak is centuries, right? That the transformation that took place in Silicon Valley from roughly 91, 92 to 1998, 99, when the internet bubble expanded and exploded, the things that happened in that time frame it was a mercurial time. I mean, the changes were so rapid. I didn't understand anything about technology. I had a computer, I knew how to turn it on, and that was it. But what I found was that I had a knack for hearing what the geeky people who were building the stuff were saying and asking questions and being curious. Okay, so I get that chipset does this, that, and the other, and it has this speed and that speed. So now what does that mean for me on the other side of the machine that the chip is in? How does that change my life? And being able to take that and translate. And I've always sat very comfortably in between people, places, and things that have nothing to do with each other and fit kind of in a lot of different places. And my superpower of being able to talk to anyone about anything at any time in any place, all of these things that were just innately who I am. They weren't skill sets that I necessarily intentionally created. It was more about me finding skill sets that were just me, and then polishing and sharpening those. And that is really how I guide the people that I work with, whether it be colleagues that I am working with, whether it be clients that I am working with, whether it be friends. It's to be able to first be a mirror to show back to someone what they're seeing, and again, to be curious, asking what someone is saying. I think I hear you saying this. What does that actually mean? What does that mean? Can you help me understand that? And those have been probably the two most powerful questions that continue to serve me today. And given the general dumpster fire state of the world, I think it's probably a good set of questions that we would all be well served in asking.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, I loved that. I think you said some great things about polishing your skills and the way that your all innate skill sets, and a way that you really were able to do that is getting curious and asking those questions. And I see the power in that. And what I love what you said too was repeating back to people what you heard them say, because oftentimes we assume, or and we know what that means, right? And so instead of assuming what people mean or what their intentions were, is just straight out say, hey, what I'm hearing you say is this. And then having them be a yes or a no to that. And I think that builds great connection for relationships too, is what I heard come out of that as well. It's so powerful. And so oftentimes when we start getting curious, I think the important thing is to not be in a space of making anything right or wrong. So it's all about overcoming and reframing that limiting belief or that story that maybe was programmed in you. And so this is the part where we start to becoming in our rising spark, moving into that. And you've started and successfully run multiple businesses, including an award-winning dog training facility in Las Vegas. What challenges did you face in those transitions? And what breakthroughs helped you reframe adversity into new pathways of leadership?
So there's an old adage that the beauty of being someone coming to a thing who's never done a thing before is that you don't know what not to do. You don't know that you're not supposed to do things a certain way. And I mean, there's a balance here. There's a fulcrum somewhere, right? That in some ways, processes that exist. So, for example, if you're a small business owner in a certain city, there are processes as a small business owner to get your business licensed, to go to the planning commission, to get the necessary infrastructure in place to operate your business. Some of those processes are they just are what they are. And I think a lot of times people say, oh, well, these things are hard, or it's so difficult to do this. Or you think about it today, the job market is impossible and there are no jobs, or you'll never do that. Or when you get out of journalism school, you're going to need to live in the middle of nowhere and go work in a tiny little town in Wisconsin or South Dakota. I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area right out of school to a newspaper because I made a choice. Here's what I'm going to do. It didn't occur to me that I had to follow another path. When I was in high school and I had done this internship program at a radio station, and now I had completed the internship program and they had nothing else offered for high school students. So I called the general manager of the radio station and asked to come in and meet with him. I was 14.
Wow.
And my dad drove me down to the radio station and I sat in his office and said, so I've done this program. I already won the award in that program. What else you got? Obviously, I didn't say it like that. They ended up hiring me and I got a job working on weekends when I was in high school. That led to a job when I was in college because the program director was sent by the network to Chicago and he hired me because he knew I was in school there. Picking up the phone and making a phone call, or, I had never run a dog training facility before. I had never had a brick and mortar business before. I had never trained people to handle dogs before. I had never handled a group of more than 10 dogs before. I hadn't done any of these things before. And so I did them to the best of my ability and failed spectacularly in some ways. The stack of former employee files from the first 3 years I was in business was a mountain because I was an awful manager. I was an awful leader. I kept my hiring filter was terrible. I kept hiring the wrong kinds of people. I didn't empower them and help make them better. I mean, it was a disaster. And I got better at it because I could see that something wasn't working. So I asked questions. And so how do I reframe adversity? I mean, any adverse situation is a nugget of gold I just haven't uncovered yet.
Mm-hmm.
Every problem I face is an opportunity for me to stretch and grow. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I want to have problems. I certainly don't, but they're going to happen. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. And so constantly being curious, being open to feedback, legitimately open to feedback. Meaning when someone says, Cathy, I'm experiencing you as, or Cathy, when you said this, the way you said this to me, I couldn't hear it, or you told me this, and then whatever the case may be, the only response to feedback is very simple. Thank you so much for respecting me and caring about me enough to give me that open, honest feedback. How can we work together to change that? What can we do together to shift that experience? Because that's not the experience I want you to have. What do we need to do? I have some ideas. What are your ideas? That is literally the only response that you should ever give to feedback is, thank you. May I have another?
And what I hear too is responsibility for it.
100%.
Yeah.
That I had an experience not too long ago, actually, of someone who said they were open for feedback. And so when an opportunity presented, because there was an interaction we had, I offered them, I said, are you open for feedback? And they said, yes. I offered it to them. And their immediate response was to say, I hear you, But the reason I did it was this, and justify why they had done what they did, which tells me they're not really interested in feedback. So what did I do? Stopped giving feedback. You know, it's like saying no in an improv exercise. You shut it down completely.
Why do you feel it's so important to be in a space, right? Not just to give feedback, but to receive the feedback. Why is it so important?
Well, how arrogant am I if I think that I am above expanding, growing, and changing people's experience of me? What kind of asshat am I to think I've got no room for growth? Um, the one thing I know for certain is that the older I get, the less I know. The more narrow the road is in front of me. And that unless I maintain what they call in Buddhism a beginner's mind, I'm destined to become the very thing that I revile. I mean, you know, I will become the very thing that I don't want to become unless I stay flexible, adaptable, which means having to hear things that aren't easy to hear sometimes. The more it stings, the more I know it's true.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And that's okay, right? If I have a cut and I'm cleaning it and I take some hydrogen peroxide or take some antimicrobial, what have you, and I, you know, clean that wound and I abrade it and I flush it with water, it stings. But that means that it's clean. It means that I'm doing what I need to do to cleanse that, you know, soul infection, if you will.
Yeah, and what landed for me in that was when you are in a space of giving and receiving feedback, and there's growth and there's connection and humility, that is when we can really truly start living in our high vibration and our light. And in doing so, it starts to ripple outward into the world. And if we truly want to create change, it starts with us, ourselves. Wow. And so, like, we get to the space where we start to reframe and we start to overcome limiting beliefs, and we're open for feedback and we're open to be responsible. There are times where we feel life just happens and we want to have every excuse in the book to throw in the towel and to
I'm
say,
sure
I
I
give
don't
up.
know what you're talking about.
So, so there are these sacred tools that really support us in staying in our path and staying in our truth. So you have a unique approach that integrates the dog human dynamic into leadership coaching. What are some of those sacred tools or lessons that you've drawn from that help to help people strengthen communication and resolve conflict and lead with clarity?
You know, it's interesting. If you had told me that the thing that's been one of the most important things to me in my entire life would be the thing that I got to lean on as, you know, one of the most important tools and gifts that I have to offer people. And again, it goes back to that finding the things that we're good at, this innate skills of who we are, and those gifts. Everyone has them. Every single breathing human on this planet has gifts, plural, not just one, plural. Everybody, 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 everybody. Even the people you hate, even the people you disagree with, even the
Yes.
people you find repulsive, reviling, everyone has them. Everyone has them. And from my earliest memories, earliest memories all involve dogs. Now, a lot of people can probably say this, and a lot of people talk about, you know, the childhood dogs, and I love dogs and dogs are amazing. And I don't discount any of that. And there are some of us in that category, and some people have it with horses and some people have it with other animals, dogs and horses in particular, in terms of how they domesticated, the roles they play in humans' lives. Very different. One's a prey animal, one's a predator, like we are. Like the dynamics are different, but the connection to humans comes roughly around the same time in human development. So in terms of the arc of us as a species and these other species coming alongside us, we've had this arc of developing together. And some of us who have this connection to dogs have a connection that is almost otherworldly. I can hear them speak. I can feel them in a way that has helped me learn to feel other people. Wow. That if you had told me when I left Silicon Valley to go to Las Vegas to open a dog training facility, that the biggest lesson that I would have would be finding the path back to my humanity. Oh my God. Like that was the greatest gift. And the message began to land almost immediately. Within months of starting to do this very intensive daily work with people and their dogs, and helping dogs adapt in a very discordant environment, an environment that is not a place like downtown Las Vegas is not a place that you would naturally think, oh, a dog oasis in the middle of downtown Las Vegas. Like those things don't go together. So I created this magical place in one of the least likely places on the planet. And when you stepped into the outdoor park area and the dogs were out there, even if there were no dogs in the space, it was almost as though there was this invisible bubble around the fence line that you could see all the crazy, but you couldn't feel the crazy. And that in working with the dog part was easy. And to be able to see so clearly what people were doing to create the behaviors that they had come to me. So people would come with a dog and say, I have a 5-year-old boxer mix that I got from this rescue. So I know the dog has these issues, blah, 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 blah. And I just can't get him to stop pulling on the leash or jumping on guests at the front door, or running out the front door, or digging up the garden, or digging up the landscaping, or peeing in the house, or eating my, just insert whichever or some multiple of those things. How much time is it going to take to fix that, and what's it going to cost? First two questions everybody always asks. What's it going to cost? Wow. How much time will it take? And I started realizing, like one day after I had about 5 days in a row of those multiple times a day getting those questions, I asked a different question in response. I turned to the person, I said, have you worked with a 5-year-old dog? Have you worked with a trainer before? And they said, yes, several. I said, great. So because it's like wheels on a car are round because wheels are round because that's the shape of a wheel, right? So dog behavior is dog behavior. So you've worked with different trainers who've probably told you roughly the same pool of things. And the people would nod their head. And I said, so what is so precious to you about the behavior you've been asked to change that you're either unwilling or unable to change it? Dead silence. What do you mean? So, well, the last 3 trainers told you you needed to do this, this, and this. You just told me that you're only doing one of those 3 things, or you're not doing any of those 3 things, or you're doing them inconsistently, but you were told you need to do these 3 things consistently for the behavior to change. And so you know, but you're not doing it. So what's in the way?
What's the false payoff? Yeah.
What do you believe you're going to lose if you make this change? And I started finding that those were the conversations that changing the human changed the dog. 99.999% of the time, shifting the human shifted the dog. because the dog's behavior was either a reaction to or mirror of what the human was signaling. And so I started thinking, well, how does that apply elsewhere? Because when I'm walking down the street, I'm now looking at the body language of people acutely in a way I didn't before. Because a dog is going to tell me with its body before it does anything with its actions. Guess what? So are people. So are people. Are they making eye contact? Or are they not making eye contact? Do they have like resting, you know what face? Or is that their face? Or are they having a bad day? How are their shoulders? What does their gait, their walking stride look like? Is their body language closed or is it open? Do they seem defensive or comfortable? Do they seem afraid? You know, where physically are they? And what I found was when I shifted my physicality with people, their physicality shifted too. I've done this exercise in coaching workshops where I'm doing a virtual workshop with people and I've got all these people on the screen in front of me and I'll lean forward and I'll put my hand on my head like this while someone's talking and I'll watch on the screen as other people just start mindlessly, people start mimicking the behavior.
It's like mirror neurons.
And people
Science,
don't
yeah.
even realize that they're doing it. And so we live in this world where everybody's shouting, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, but don't talk to me. Look at me, but don't connect with me. Like I need to desperately talk about all of these things. And it's like, well, why are you shouting? What are you shouting for? I'm right in front of you. I'm right here. And guess what? So are dogs. I can tell you by looking at someone's social media feed, if they have a dog, I can tell you the problems that that dog is probably having.
I love that.
Or if I see people walking down the street with a dog, I have a pretty good read on whether there's something going on or not. Now, I'm not a mind reader. Like I don't know. I can't tell you that I know specifically what's going on with someone, but I could tell, I would sit in my office at the Hydrant Club and I had a view where I could actually see out of my office window, but people couldn't see him. And so I would see the car pull up to the curb and the owners would sit in the car and my staff would go out to get the dog, to bring the dog in. And I would watch the dog's behavior coming up the walk. There was one day where I saw one particular dog get out of the car and it was not acting right. It was not acting itself. So I don't know what drove me to do this, but I got up from my desk and I went out and I waved to the owner and to hold on. And I went around to the driver's window and they lowered the window down. I said, hey, and they said, good morning. Is everything all right? I said, actually, that's what I was coming out to ask you. Eyes got really wide. Why do you ask? Dog doesn't seem right today. Everything all right? Is everything all right? And you know what? Things weren't okay. Things weren't okay. I mean, fast forward, everything turned out to be okay in the end in this one particular situation. But, you know, during the pandemic, witnessing well-mannered, well-behaved, well-trained, behaviorally stabilized dogs lose their effing minds because their people were losing their minds. There's a beautiful story, poignant and heartbreaking, but beautiful story that Dr. Gabor Mate shares that was shared with him afterwards because he was an infant at the time. But if you don't know who Dr. Gabor Mate is, he has written a number of books studying trauma and the historic impact of trauma, that trauma isn't the thing that happens to us on our life timeline, but what happens to us afterwards. Because otherwise trauma, we'd never recover from trauma because you can't change a thing that happened and make it go away.
Okay.
Right. If something bad happens to me, it will never not have happened. It's always going to be on a point on my timeline. And if I carry it forward 30 years and 30 years later, I'm still suffering in the shadow of it, that's really trauma. Like that's one is a traumatic experience and the other is traumatization, which are different. But he talks about being an infant and that not long after the Nazis had invaded Hungary, where he was born and raised as a Jewish baby. He was born, but he wouldn't stop crying. And she called the pediatrician, to come to the house. And the doctor came and said, all of the Jewish babies were crying.
Crying?
All of the Jewish babies that he was treating were all crying, incessantly crying and wouldn't stop. Because infants, babies, small kids,
They
animals,
feel the energy.
it's all
Yeah.
they have.
It's all they know.
They
Just
don't
like dogs.
have language. And so this beautiful gift that dogs give us is to reconnect to the gifts that we were born with, which is awareness of self, energetic awareness. Take two kids who don't speak the same language, put them on a playground, and within minutes, they will figure out how to play. And they'll be best friends. They'll say, can my new friend come home? This is my best friend. And they could have exchanged not a single word with each other all day.
That's true.
So, I mean, it's a very long way around answer, but the gifts that dogs give us are the reminder of why we're human. And that when I bring those things into my daily life and look at how do I treat the people in the world around me. So people are very entitled around dogs. They'll walk up to a dog and just reach down and touch it. Maybe the dog doesn't want to be touched. If you're lucky, the dog is behaviorally stabilized and will let you do it. But, you know, I don't pet many dogs in public unless the dog walks up to me and gives me a physical indication that touch is warranted in a balanced, reasonable way. I'm not talking about the dog that pulls its owner over on the leash and jumps all over. Like, I'm backing up from that because I'm not going to reward that dog's excitement with what it wants, which is attention. I'm going to back up. If the dog sits down, I'll ask the owner, may I give your dog attention when it is sitting or standing? Like, I'm not going to reinforce the bad behavior. I can always tell the people.
Yeah, I can see how that benefits too, in the human relationships, not rewarding behavior that like keeping your boundaries. Like, hey, I'm not going to react to that. I'm not going to respond to that in a way that you're asking for. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's the same. Some people are just spoiling for a fight. And when you remove the friction, I have one friend who just likes to argue. We don't really talk that much anymore because she just wants to make everything an argument. And I mean, I love her and I care about her. I'm just not interested in engaging in a pissing match. That not really seems kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. Love that. And I love it. What I'm hearing is your innate connection to dogs grounded you in your humanity. And because of that, you started to really see the body language and how we carry ourselves. And that really helped you sharpen your curiosity on what might be going on in that person. And what I heard it too is that it probably helped you not be coming from a judgmental, critical space. If you were just more open to get curious about why or what's going on. That's beautiful.
On a good day, I don't judge others, but I'm human. I can be super Judge Judy. So
Super Judge Judy. And yeah, this whole journey of coming home to yourself and being responsible for your part in the world can feel a little lonely and it can feel scary because yeah, it feels lonely sometimes for me anyway. It was, and my experience with other people sharing that as well. So community is so important in feeling that belonging and inclusion, because I think all of us are walking around just wanting to belong and fit in and be seen and heard. And leaders often struggle with that balance of the vision and execution while also building high trust cultures. How do you help leaders foster belonging and collaboration, especially in moments of conflict or transition?
Great question. Well, everybody's different, right? Every environment is different. There's no cookie cutter, that I think you can really apply to every situation, every person, every place. Every leader is different. As a result, every organization is different. At the end of the day, I see, and I've experienced this recently with, a leader who fancies themselves to be an open door, very let's go team, very supportive, and will speak ill of a team member who's not in the room with other team members. Now, it's not in a gossip sort of like this person is an XYZ, but it'll be done in the guise of, hey, so we're here on this, for this particular event or project. If so-and-so, here's what we need to do this, this, and this, so-and-so does this, and this, and that isn't good. So don't do that. Super disquieting, Now, I don't think it is done with the intention of being damaging to the team. I don't think this individual is a bad person. I don't think they're a malintended person. I think they are a leader who has never been taught to lead. A leader who's never been taught to lead. Yeah, there we go. A leader who has never been taught to lead, but who fancies themselves a leader because they've, watched some Simon Sinek videos and read a couple of leadership books and maybe gone to 1 or 2 day long, offsite sort of situations. There's nothing more dangerous than decontextualizing transformational leadership work and then weaponizing the language. Like there are few things that are more dangerous than that. It's like someone who goes to therapy and then weaponizes the language with their loved ones to gaslight and to do all of the things, right? So I think one of the most important things in showing leaders is it is really important to not give a shit what people think of you, but not through a lens of like, screw all of them, I don't care what they think, not from that sort of resistance, arrogant sort of lens, but from the, it's none of my business. Because if I am in a position of leadership, if I am out on the leading edge, if I am taking chances, if I am pushing the envelope, I will piss people off. Not everybody is going to like me. Some people are going to dislike me the minute they meet me, for no reason other than our energetic blend doesn't work for them. That's okay. But if there's 100 people in the room and 2 of them don't like me, there would have been a time where those would be the only 2 people I'd worry about. I'd spend the whole time in the room trying to coerce, manipulate, and otherwise like flagellate myself for those 2 people.
Same.
Cut my losses. I got 98 people with their eyes on me. Great. Because no matter what I do, those 2 people aren't going to hear me. And that's okay. It's okay. There have been times, in the program, where we met each other, there have been a number of occasions where I'd be working with a mentee, or I'd be working with, a student in a coaching program through this same organization, right? And I'd be talking with another coach, or I'd be talking with another mentor, and we'd be just kind of sharing ideas. And they would say to me, or I would say to them, I'm having a challenge with so-and-so. Like we just keep coming up against this thing. We keep coming up against the thing. And it doesn't matter how many ways I twist myself inside and out. They don't, like, the message isn't landing. And either I would say to them or they would say to me, you want me to take a whack at it? And it's not that I or the other person said or did anything particularly different. It's how we said it. And in every one of those occasions where I asked for someone's support or I provided support to someone else, in every one of those occasions, the message landed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can read, I'll pick a number, 75 personal development books. And that's a low number considering how many are on the market. They all say pretty much the same shit.
That's true. That's true.
It's just, how is it packaged? What's the tone? What's the feeling? Do I identify with the person who's talking?
Mm-hmm.
If I can identify with the person who's talking, I'm more likely to listen to what they have to say. If I can't identify with them, I'm not going to listen. And so for those, like, if you're a leader, it doesn't matter what other people say about your vision. Don't share it with anybody else. Don't share your ideas with other people. Have your kitchen cabinet, your kitchen table cabinet, your tiny, tiny, tiny little circle of very trusted people who will not co-sign your bullshit, who will speak truth to power, who will tell you when you're believing your own lies, who will say to you, are you open to feedback? Do you need to just vent for a second? I'll give you 5 minutes. Go. At the end of the 5 minutes, let me know if you want, you know. And I have a quote, it's over there somewhere, but it's truth without compassion is cruelty.
That's true.
Right. And then there's another, I'm forgetting it, but it's if I give someone direction or I tell someone they're doing something wrong, or I imply or I say, so this thing you're doing isn't working, but I don't then open a space to either help them or guide them or a little bit of both toward a solution to changing that. Like, this whole constructive criticism is a load of horseshit. Brutal
Mm-hmm.
and honesty should never be put together.
Mm.
Honesty should never be violent. Brutality means violence. I need to be brutally honest with you. Oh, so you need to be an asshole? I'm not giving you license to do that. You can go talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And it's empathy, compassion, and self-awareness. And all of these things mean you're going to be lonely. But guess what? There's a lot of other people like you who are equally lonely. You guys cannot be lonely together. So you leaders of companies need to find other leaders of other companies that are around the same size. Maybe they're in the same market. Maybe it's a competitor. Maybe it's the CEO of your biggest competitor. Guess what? There's plenty of market for both of you. And one of you may be a little bit bigger than the other. Number two is probably going to try harder. But why shouldn't you help each other?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want the market to thrive. If you kill your competition, you will ultimately kill your market.
Mm.
Need
Oh my
somebody
God,
to
I never
talk,
heard
need
it that
somebody
way.
to talk to, find other people who are doing the thing that you're doing. Talk to them.
Collaboration.
Don't talk to your team. Your team doesn't
Mm.
need to know. When I'm on a plane, I don't need to know if the pilot's having a bad day. They can have a bad day if they want to, but they better damn well fly that plane the best they can. I don't want them
Amen.
sharing their shit with me. I
Mm.
don't want them sharing it with the flight crew who need to take care of us. Handle your shit.
Mm.
Handle your shit.
I love that. Oh my goodness. There's so much great things that you put in there, but it was so beautiful that you said the thing that stood out as the you said so many important things, but like for me it's so important because it's where I struggle with hearing feedback when it doesn't come from a compassionate, empathetic place of, hey, listen, I'm calling you forward. You're playing small or whatever it is, or maybe sometimes it's not even about me. It's sometimes it could be about them. And so I love that you really grounded that intention of, if your intention is to build connection and to grow and to learn and um, to have a 10-10 relationship, like the place you get to go is having empathy and compassion and self-awareness. And I think that was just so beautiful. So thank you for that. And so for those who are listening and want to learn more and connect with the work that you do, where can they find you and experience your programs, or if you have a free offer or anything for them?
So I will give you a link that you can absolutely send out to folks, and put it in the show notes and that sort of thing. I offer a free consultation with folks who just want to kind of see if coaching is a thing that they need, if they're looking for a coach, if they've got a company, they're looking for somebody to come in to their company to work with teams and help facilitate. My view on coaching is get in, empower, get out. So, I tend to not do long-term contracts with people or companies, teach people to fish and then get out of the way and let them do it.
Yes.
So I'll make sure that I provide you with that link. I'm easy to find. Unleashed Leadership LLC is my website. And there's even a link on there where you can click on that and you can just go ahead and schedule. I don't really use X anymore, but I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. I also have a weekly podcast that is episodes drop every Wednesday. It's usually somewhere between 8 and 12 minutes long. So it's just a good little nugget if you're taking a break from your work day. It's called Talk Unleashed. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, whatever platform you may snack on for your podcasts. And what I do is I bring together experiences that I have in the world with communication and language and dog behavior. And they're kind of woven together. Usually the episodes, I record them while I'm walking in the woods behind my house. So there's lots of crunchy leaf sound and birds and bugs. And sometimes you can hear the sawmill.
I heard it. I know I did. I listened to a couple of your episodes and I could hear you walking in the woods. It was the one about the smell, the nose, the smelling. That was
Oh,
very
yes.
yes.
That's one of my recent ones. The other fun one is wokeness creates weakness. How's that for a controversial title? It is not what you think, and it is what you think. So I would encourage you to listen to that one for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely on my next for listening for today. Oh my gosh, such beautiful work that you do, and I just really love the your approach on the dog human. It's very unique and very perfectly you, and I think you're able to kind of get over the noise because it's so unique in the way that you approach your leadership. So there are listeners out there still feeling stuck, or maybe they're feeling that they're still in conflict or disconnected from their teams or their families or unclear about their next step in leadership. What heartfelt invitation or reminder would you like to leave with them today?
Well, for starters, if you feel stuck, the operative word is it's only a feeling. You're not actually stuck. You feel disconnected. You're not actually disconnected. Often the thing to do when I'm feeling a certain way is no thing, also known as nothing, right? It's about taking a pause first.
Mm-hmm.
While feelings aren't facts, and while um, you know, making choices from emotion and that sort of thing in the business world, not really advisable. Feelings are still real. We are sentient beings, all of us. And And what is, I think, the most important thing to remember is there is no way around conflict. You can't avoid it. You can't make it go away. The only way to diffuse it is to go through it. But you can't go through it with resistance, like plowing through it, like I'm going to break through this conflict. It's really about slowing down. Be curious. You know, it's like the Walt Whitman quote, be curious, not judgmental. Know that when I find that there is friction, the friction is there because I perceive it as being something not the way I want it to be. So first, I get to check myself before I wreck myself. Am I imposing my belief set on someone else or my expectations on something else? And when animals are afraid or uncomfortable, they behave badly. It does not matter what kind of animal it is. And the two-footed kind is the worst of all because we believe that we hide things. Like a dog that's uncomfortable will bite or will crap in the house or will tear apart furniture. It will have a very, toddler tantrum-ish sort of response to a situation. And then we get older and we think that because we have these trappings of civility and maturity, that somehow our responses are better. But they're not. Sometimes I would rather that people threw themselves to the ground and had a good old-fashioned temper tantrum.
Yes.
Because if you're going to act like a child, act like a child, as opposed to acting like a grown-up who's not acknowledging the hurt child that's on the inside. And so when I have conflict, but get curious about it, that's really interesting. I don't agree with you on that point. Can you help me understand how you got there? Wow. Okay. So your response, that feels a little bit jarring for me. So let's talk about that. Why is that important to you? What about this is important to you? If this project needs to go in this direction, I see that you don't want it going this direction. You think it should go this direction. What happens to you if it goes this direction? What do you feel like you're losing? What's being taken away?
Seeking to understand others as opposed to trying to get them to understand you.
It is better to understand than to be understood.
I see the value in that, especially as a leader.
It's better to be the channel and it's really, and it can come back to, leading with a servant's heart. Like there's a lot of language, I think, that really, will repel some people. All of it comes back down to, doesn't matter whether it's transformational leadership or some sort of spiritual practice or some sort of whatever, like they all come back down to, whether it's dog training or horse training, they all come down to, who am I being in my core, right? Am I being true to myself? And if I keep pushing against a thing and it's not working, I got to think maybe I'm pushing it the wrong way. Maybe it needs to not be pushed. Maybe it needs to be left alone. Maybe it needs to be pulled instead of pushed.
Or pushed from a different direction.
Yeah, or not pushed at all. Just leave it alone. Sometimes leaving it alone and doing nothing is the best thing you can do.
Yes, and I love your invitation to pause. Because the alternative would be to react, and reacting is definitely comes from a space of judgment, needing to be right, feeling hurt, victimized in some way, not going according to your expectations. Like all of that is what I'm hearing is breaking connection. All of that is not standing in responsibility. And so I love your invitation to pause. And the first thing to do is just to pause. PAWS, baby. Pause.
Right? Always. Always, always, always.
Oh my gosh, as this conversation came to a close, I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this beautiful conversation of honesty, truth, and what it looks like to truly come home to yourself and to be the stand for the change that you wish to see in the world. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. I
So,
appreciate it.
oh, yes. So we close this powerful conversation with Cathy Brooks. We are reminded that resilience and adaptability it form the backbone of transformation. Cathy showed us that when we stay curious, ask the right questions, and polish our innate skill sets, we not only sharpen who we are, we become mirrors for others, reflecting back their truth and creating space for growth. She also reminded us that vision requires boldness to declare what you want without needing proof that it's possible. And when things don't work out, failing spectacularly isn't failure at all. It's feedback because every problem is simply an opportunity to stretch, expand, and rise together stronger. Feedback itself, Cathy shared very beautifully, is one of our greatest teachers, especially when it stings. It's in that discomfort that we discover the deeper truths waiting to set us free. And at the heart of it all is the reminder that we all have gifts, every single one of us. And sometimes it's about asking a new question to unlock them. We quickly also touched on the power of energy and awareness, that your state of being influences the world around you. When you shift, others shift. And when you remove the friction, there's nothing left to fuel the conflict. Transformation isn't one size fits all either. It's a unique, raw, and real experience for you. She calls us to be higher as leaders, never to weaponize our learnings or our language, to remember that truth without compassion is cruelty, and to have the courage to surround ourselves with those who won't co-sign our limitations. Because sometimes empathy and self-awareness can feel lonely, but in loneliness, there is connecting and connection with other leaders walking the same path. In her words, we are not alone. And the invitation remains, handle your truth, handle your heart, handle your path, handle your shit. If this conversation sparked something within you, if your heart cracked open just a little more, maybe you felt seen, heard, or simply not alone, please share this and subscribe to our channel, because when you do, this content can reach more women out there who still need that reminder that she is not alone, that her voice matters, and that healing is possible. Remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Until next time, sisters, keep shining, keep rising, and keep coming home because you matter. You're enough, exactly as you are. I am your host, Margarita Rose, here today with the luminous Cathy Brooks on this episode, Sparkcast of Coming Home to You. Until next week, same time, same Spark channel. Bye.